See, this is the thing, right? Because we're born in the West, in Britain.
Yeah.
Religion gets attacked all the time. You have Richard Dawkins. You've heard of Richard Dawkins, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I call him Richard Dawkins, yeah?
In this video, we'll be addressing an argument made by Dawah Man regarding the existence of God.
He's a bit of a crazy guy trying to like attack religions and blame everything on religions and stuff, and there's no proof for God.
Yeah.
Let me address two things here. First and foremost, we are brought up thinking that everything that we must verify has to be touch and feel.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. If God could be touched and felt and seen, would that be God?
I assume you're talking about verifying something scientifically. Saying science is all about touch and feel is a misrepresentation of what science does. Science examines evidence, makes models, and forms predictions that can be tested and verified. Evidence for something can come in many forms outside of just direct observation. Science is based off physical evidence and observations, but it can use those observations to make verifiable predictions about things that can't be directly observed. For example, the structure of an atom was discovered without directly observing the parts of the atom, but rather performing experiments to get knowledge about how it interacts with the physical world and using that knowledge to deduce its structure.
No, what you mean.
Would that be
It
God?
wouldn't really be a test of belief, would it? Because you would know for a
It's
fact
not even
he's
just a
there.
belief, because God actually says there's good reasons to believe in him. For example, look, do you believe you had a great grandma?
No.
Do you believe
I
you had
mean, yeah, but I mean, there's obviously, I know that because obviously
Why?
I'm here now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but that's exactly the point. Have you ever seen your great grandma? You don't have access to her DNA.
I know
her grave?
scientifically, I would have to have one to be here.
How?
though, do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. See, that's the point. Using the terminology here, scientifically, you have no clue.
This analogy just demonstrates a poor understanding of the scientific method. As mentioned before, we can use verifiable evidence and observation to make predictions about the unobservable. Let's take this example of determining the existence of a person's past lineage. We can observe human beings require male and female coupling for procreation, and we have verifiable evidence to suggest the existence of human beings for tens of thousands of years. Knowing all of this, we can make a reasonable assertion to the existence of said grandparent. Without this observable and measurable evidence, we cannot make this prediction, and with no verifiable evidence for the existence of God, we cannot reasonably make assertions for God in the same way. Doing so would be considered a false equivalence fallacy.
Because what does science say? Science say we can only verify the physical world and things that we can touch and feel.
No, it doesn't, as we've already outlined. You're just committing a straw man fallacy against the scientific method.
Yeah.
The only way you know you got a great grandma is because you're here. You've made a logical, rational decision.
Yes, you make a rational decision based on previous evidence, as we have outlined.
Not based on the physical world, based on necessity. If it's necessary your great grandmother existed in order for you to be here. You can't see her, but if someone said she never existed, you say, get lost, man, you're crazy. Do you see?
The necessity for the grandparents' existence stems from the evidence that the only way we have observed humans to be created is through reproduction, and we know humans existed at the time of that grandparent's life. I can't believe you're sticking with this analogy for so long. Just hurry up and assert God so we can address it.
See my point?
Yeah.
So the point is, we don't need physical evidence all the time to come to conclusions. Exactly the same thing with God. As you
Okay, that was terrible. Firstly, observations are used to assert the existence of a grandparent. That is not the same as a God. We have no verifiable observations of God. You can prove the existence of humans giving birth to humans. We can't, however, observe a God doing anything. Hence, your argument is deeply flawed and a false equivalence.
Let's put it this way. Everything in the universe, dude, that begins to exist, okay, if I just popped like this, here I am, I just popped into existence, has a cause.
I'm going to overlook how nebulous of a term cause is because we don't have time. The first issue here is you're applying laws within the universe to the universe itself. That makes no sense. For example, time exists within the universe as a property within it, but that doesn't mean time exists outside the universe. This argument relies on the premise that the laws inside the universe apply to the universe itself. You have to prove that, which I imagine isn't going to happen.
Number two, the universe, without a shadow of a doubt now, began to exist. Based on philosophy, mathematics, Big Bang. You know about the Big Bang, yeah?
The Big Bang Theory asserts the universe as we know it expanded from a single high temperature and high density point. So yes, the universe in its current state seemed to have begun. However, that doesn't mean the high temperature, high density point the universe began from actually began to exist. As it could have been eternal, we don't know. You would have to prove that for your argument to work. I would like to throw in a side note here. Notice how he accepts the Big Bang Theory based on evidence presented because he can use it to try and prove his point, but at the start of the video he was directly undermining anything that couldn't be directly observed.
So from all this, we know the universe began to exist. So what logically follows? Therefore, the universe has a cause.
We've already outlined that it didn't necessarily begin to exist as you are asserting, and the laws within the universe can't be applied externally to the universe, so this argument doesn't work.
So we just say, right, without a doubt, we know that the universe has a cause. What is the nature of this cause? Well, if you create the universe, it can't be part of the universe. Because if it's part of the universe, then that would mean the universe existed and didn't exist at the same time.
Madness.
Does that make sense? No. That's just crazy.
Madness.
It seems you actually do understand what we were explaining before, that you can't apply things within the universe to the universe itself. Hence, you should understand why all the premises leading the argument to this point don't work.
So there's that. It must be one. Because they're knocking on the door, we don't assume there's Manchester United football team behind the door, right? We say it's one person, isn't it? Yeah? It's the most logical explanation. We know it must.
Okay, so now you have assumed it was an intelligent being who created it. You have to prove that. We don't know what exists external to the universe. It could be natural processes, it could be fairies. Without evidence, you can't assert anything. Also, what do you do when someone knocks on your door? You answer it and it's two people. That is a common scenario. Mormons don't usually go door knocking alone. To use that as your reason as to why it has to be one entity is terrible. This video is getting progressively worse.
Be all powerful. It didn't create a grain of sand, it created the whole universe, right?
Yeah.
You haven't proved it is an intelligent entity, you just asserted it baselessly.
And we know it must be uncreated. Because some people say, well, who created God? It must be uncreated. Why?
Wait, so someone points out your hypothesis doesn't work and your answer is just to redefine it so the issue doesn't exist anymore. If you can assert God is eternal, isn't it more reasonable to assert the singularity the universe exploded from was eternal, as at least we can verify its existence, as we have no evidence for God existing? You have to prove these statements.
Don't know why.
But let me give you an example. Say I want to shoot you, yeah?
Yeah.
Good style like this, yeah? Yeah? Hackney style. But before I could shoot, I have to ask Abu Bakr for permission. Abu Bakr, can I shoot the geezer? He says, wait, I need to ask someone behind me to shoot. And that guy has to ask permission too. If that goes on forever, could I shoot you?
No.
Impossible.
Exactly the same thing with the universe. The question of saying who created God is equivalent of saying there is no creation. Because you need a final point. Because if it went on forever, we would never have creation in the first place.
This analogy works against your argument because, as you asserted before, you believe that everything in existence has a cause. This fact is essential for your starting premise to be true. So if everything requires a cause, how can you assert that God can exist without a cause and maintain the integrity of your initial premise? If you assert this only applies to God, that would be a special pleading fallacy. If you are willing to concede that the natural laws of the universe do not necessarily apply externally to the universe, as mentioned before, then this means you are unable to assert that the singularity or starting point of the known universe had a cause. In either scenario, it is impossible to logically assert the existence of God. All we can assert is that we have no evidence to suggest the existence of a God and no knowledge beyond our measurable universe.
So look what we've just done, just very simply. We've said there's a cause for the universe. It must be one, powerful, and uncreated. This is exactly what the Quran says. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Say God is one, unique, eternal, self-sufficient. He begets not, nor was he begotten. He's uncreated. And there is nothing like him. He's immaterial. He's outside of the universe.
Yeah.
Just because you said it doesn't make it true. You did a terrible job of justifying your arguments, as we have outlined. Also, that could describe a large number of things. How did you get to the God of the Quran? Here, watch. The flying spaghetti monster exists immaterially of the universe. It is timeless and all-powerful. Hence, your argument structure can be used to argue for the existence of the flying spaghetti monster. It wouldn't work because your argument is terrible, but I'm just outlining that you can't use it to lead to a specific God.
For me, I think that's irrefutable evidence there.
All that tells me is you have a really low standard of evidence.
We could even go slowly through it again.
You can
Because they were very basic concepts, weren't they?
Very basic and wrong.
So there's evidence for it. Yeah, there's evidence for it. And then
If there is evidence for it, you didn't present it. All you presented was conjecture. As we have outlined, you took concepts from inside the universe and then applied them externally to the universe itself, which doesn't work. You then asserted that God is external and without a cause as to avoid the obvious contradiction in your argument. On top of all that, you didn't actually provide any evidence that the God existed to do any of the things you are claiming that it did. Look, the nature of the origins of the universe is a fascinating topic for which we may never get answers to. Baseless assertions like this don't get us closer to an answer, they drag us further away and hinder the progression of mankind. We encourage you and anybody watching this to seriously consider the criticisms we have offered this argument, as this style of argument Dawah Man presented is not going to uncover the answers of the universe, it is only going to drag us further away. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for weekly videos. If you have a video you want us to break down, let us know in the comments or on social media such as Facebook or Twitter. Give this video a thumbs up and share it around to help us raise the bar of public discourse.
Technically speaking, sperm's got nutritional value. So go drink your dad's sperm, man. What are you waiting for?